Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. So I'm sorry. At the outset, let me say that I'm sorry because I had to postpone this talk, which normally is at 4:30. So though we tried to inform everyone on our through our website as well as WhatsApp, many of you might have logged in at 4:30. I had been to Swindon for an event and I was not very sure whether I would arrive on time. Though I arrived at 5 o'clock, I thought it's better to have the class after Aarti, which is at 6:30 now. So we'll continue from where we left. We remember we are discussing the Great Master, which is a very authentic biography of Sri Ramakrishna, along with the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, which is the alternate Sunday class. So, alternately, we discuss these two great books, source books, very authentic source books, which give us an idea of the remarkable life and message of Sri Ramakrishna. To understand the message, we need to know the life. Just as to know the life of Sri Krishna, we need to read the Bhagavad Gita, and we read the through Bhagavad Gita gives us the message, but it should be read in coordination or along with the great life, because all these avatars, great prophets and religious leaders, when they come with a mission, and their life is their message. We fail to understand this unless they live that life on two planes. We discussed it very clearly. One is the divine aspect. But when they come as human beings, which every avatar has to do, Jesus Christ came as flesh and blood. He came, he had to come, he had to be crucified. He suffered all the sufferings which a normal human being suffers. Some, in fact, more than what normal human beings suffered. He was crucified. So also Sri Krishna, so much of trial and tribulation, and Rama's life, you see, it's full of suffering. Why do they undergo suffering? So this question is answered in the wonderful life of Sri Ramakrishna, because Swami Shardananji, who wrote the Great Master, was aware that most of the biographies of the previous avatars, they focused more on the divine aspect of that incarnation. So the divine aspect is very much important. We have to consider. But along with the divine aspect, there is a human aspect for which the incarnation comes, assumes a human body, which is known as avatara. And that avatara's purpose is to show a human beings like us, jivas like us, how under different circumstances of life, how undergoing different struggles in our own life, we can derive inspiration at a human level. If we were all divine, like Sri Krishna or like Sri Ramakrishna, like Buddha, then solving these problems would be very easy for us. But we know that we are born with that aspect of jivahood. We are jivas, we are struggling to become one with the infinite, one with God, one with that divine light within, which is our real nature, but it takes a lot of sadhana. That is why in this biography, as I mentioned earlier also, the second part of the biography of Sri Ramakrishna is known as Sadhaka Bhava. Sri Ramakrishna as a sadhaka. First of all, why does he have to do sadhana? He is a perfected being. He doesn't have to struggle like us, but still he has to undergo it. When he Swami Shardanji says, it's not that he's play acting, as some of the biographers of other avatars, they say they came and they performed this divine play or leela It was just a drama for them. No, it was not a drama. According to Swami Shardananji, if it is just acting, then we can't learn anything from their lives. Because if we feel that they have a human aspect which is just like us, then we get inspiration from their lives, how they handle problems, how their personalities exhibited some of the good characteristics which we are supposed to follow, supposed to uh, uh, not imitate, but supposed to follow in our own life. For example, there is this Sthita Prajna Lakshana in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So Arjuna is very much amused after hearing his first few verses. He understands what Sthita Prajna is, but Arjuna is not happy. So he asks a question: Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha? I mean, how does a Sthita Prajna appear like? Suppose I attain to that Sthita Prajna. How do you recognize? As a human being, Arjuna is justified in asking this question. I attain to that Sthita Prajna state which you have described in the second chapter. Say I have attained. After that, how will I talk? How will I walk? How will I carry out my daily tasks? What are the signs of a Sthita Prajna? How will I behave? What should be my conduct? Because these are very important for us. Because the Lakshanas, the Sthita Prajna Lakshanas, which we get after we attain realization, are the Lakshanas which we have to practice before attaining that realization. So that is what Swami Shardanji says, that all the events in the Master's life, that is Sri Ramakrishna's life, definitely are expressions of a divine power emanating from a higher plane of consciousness, which we see in all incarnations. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have Krishna, we have all the different incarnations. They exhibit some divine characteristics even when they were children. They do exceptional things when they were children. But at the same time, they have an human aspect. They show how much one has to struggle to build up a character. So, after discussing the human aspect of the master, we come to a very important chapter. He says, if we analyze the life of Sri Ramakrishna, the light of the Vedantic principles, the different sadhanas that one is supposed to do, there are many sadhanas which Acharya Shankara says one has to perform even before one begins the study of Vedanta. Vedanta is not so easy to practice. One has to be a adhikari. When you say adhikari, means one should be fit to practice. Understanding theoretical is one thing. We can understand all the Vedanta, all the texts of Vedanta, but when it comes to real life practice, we fail because we are not adhikaris. So Shankaracharya says, you will realize all these truths, the truths of Advaita Vedanta, truths of Vedanta, as we find it in the Upanishads, in the Gita, and all the other scriptures, only if you are a adhikari. What do you mean by adhikari? You should have certain qualities, certain basic qualities. In Patanjali's yoga, we call it yama and niyama. People just jump to the third step, that is asana. Then they will say, oh, we want to do pranayama. Then they just want to jump to meditation. But meditation is the seventh step. Patanjali says it takes years to practice yama and niyama, the basic qualities which make you fit for even asana and pranayama. We can't just, anybody and everybody, if he wants to succeed in Patanjali's yoga, he says, have you practiced yama? First step, second step, niyama. So these ethical qualities or these moral virtues, you will find these incarnations definitely practice. So what Swami Shardanji has done is that he says most of the characteristics sprung from a divine source, a divine nature, but others were cultivated by some unique human characteristics. What were they? There are six of them, six characteristics which can be classified. There are six unique characteristics which I read last time. They are, he has classified it into six because he found these were the remarkable characteristics, human characteristics, not divine. Divine, there are so many. But human characteristics like strong memory, powerful memory, he has given six characteristics, human characteristics, which were remarkably developed even from a young age, childhood. One is a strong memory, smriti, strong power of judgment, which comes when your buddhi is developed. So it is the power of judgment to make right choices in life. You see, every moment of our life, we have to judge. We have to judge what? Judge what we should do or what we should not do. In Gita, it is known as Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. Buddhi, not just Buddhi. Vyavasayatmika means a Buddhi which is developed as a result of concentration, which where you develop the wisdom, you have an intuitive power to take the right decisions in life. Many times we take decisions which are pleasant, which are not good, which may not be really good. It may be pleasant, which is known as Shreya and Preya. So in the Kathopanishad and also in the Gita, we see this discussion is taking place where the Lord says in any scripture that the pleasant is always not the good. That which is pleasant for the worldly people may not be really good. So, how to decide what is pleasant and what is just pleasant? And have a tendency to follow the path of least resistance and follow the pleasant. But what is really good may be unpleasant, like doing sadhana, struggling against the trying to control the mind, doing japa, sitting for long hours. It's definitely not a pleasant thing to try to control the mind. It is absolutely difficult task. Sri Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, he said it's very difficult to control the mind. I also agree with you. Arjuna himself says that it's so difficult to control the mind. It's not as easy as you are telling in the Dhyana Yoga. You will find the sixth chapter. So where does that uh, desire or that capacity to judge correctly what I should do, what I should not do? And every one of our choices have made us what we are. At, at every point, even what to eat, what not to eat, what to do, what not to do, which career to choose, which career to. That judgment we are always making. We are making based on our limited understanding of what is ultimately we we follow the path of least resistance. As I said, we choose the pleasant thing. Oh, let me choose this because this is easy. Sometimes difficult things may be good. It may be Shreya. Prayer is pleasant. Shreya is that which is really good. So, the strong power of judgment, when he was asked to take judgment, for example, schooling, when everybody told him, he used his own judgment. When he said, you have to go to school, why should I go to school? Then they said, you have to have a career. Then I said, will that help me to realize God? If it doesn't, then what is the time purpose of wasting it? That Chalkola Vidya, he said. Chalkola means that which enables me to just earn a living. That is not what I am aspiring for. So you see, the child Gadadhar was aware what is good for him and what is bad for him, what is a wrong choice, what is a right choice. So this is strong power of judgment. First is powerful memory. You know how many times people used to ask him, see, you never went to school, you never studied the scriptures, or obviously could not read so fluently. Though he knew reading and writing, he went to elementary school. But he did not read the Gita, did not read the Upanishads, but he could quote from different scriptures. Then they asked, you never read anything, you didn't go to school, didn't go to university, then how do you remember so many things? He said, I might not have read, because reading and writing was not a priority in my life. But how much have I heard? That's very significant. He used to hear from the different fakirs and so many religious people, some of them great scholars. They used to pass by Kamarpukur on their way to Puri. Puri was a famous place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So pilgrims used to walk. So naturally, they had to rest in Kamarpukur. And the local people would do seva. They used to help them, give them food, serve them. Gadadhar was very much keen when he was a young boy. And in the process, he would ask questions and they would tell him many things. And his strong power of memory, once he heard something, once he heard a play on Ramayana, Mahabharata, everything he would remember. So his powerful memory was one special human characteristic he had. Second is strong power of judgment. So what was that? As I said, the buddhi, the vyavasayatmika buddhi which Sri Krishna speaks. Just buddhi is not enough. Buddhi means wisdom. Wisdom, a higher wisdom to make the right choices and make definite choices that this is what I'll do. And nobody could change him. When he was told that you are a Brahmin, you should not take bhiksha from a lower caste woman, Dhani. He said, I have given my word to her when I was young. She had requested me, and if I break my word which I have given, I will be speaking untruth. That is a greater sin than breaking these customs. There may be a custom that you should take bhiksha or take the alms when you are given this yagnopavita or maybe thread ceremony as it is known. But I will take the first bhiksha from Dhani because I have promised her. And if I break my promise, I will be speaking untruth, and untruth is worse than any other. It's the worst kind of sin. So you see, who taught this young Gadadhar this extraordinary power of judgment to do what he knew was right and what was good. So that that is the second characteristic: powerful memory, strong power of judgment. Then third was, these are important qualities which make one an adhikari to understand, practice spirituality, especially Vedanta. So the next is extreme steadfastness. Extreme steadfastness means he would, if he resolve to do something, he would just do it, and no matter when his mind got convinced that the Divine Mother can be seen, because Ram Prasad and all the previous devotees of the Mother, they had the vision of Kali. So he was so steadfast. He used to practice day and night. Every day is to say, one day has passed. I have not seen your vision because I'm ignorant. Are you cheating me? Are you really true? So that steadfastness, even though he did not succeed, he showed that if you stick to this sadhana, in the beginning he had no guru. Remember, he had no guru. His only sadhana he did was yearning, this steadfastness, extreme steadfastness towards prayer, which convinced him that through prayer through yearning, through Vyakulta, it is known as Vyakulta. So there was no guru to give him a mantra, there was no other sadhana that he did. The first phase of his sadhana, where we had the first vision, where he saw the infinite light. It was not that he saw the Divine Mother's form. Though he worshipped, the vision or the revelation came in the form of light which engulfed him, the light of knowledge, the light of Brahman. So that was his first vision, and that he did not perform. Later on, the other gurus came. As Holy Mother said, it's not that he wanted, he was incomplete. He had already had the vision, but he, like a spiritual glutton, just like a person wants to taste, a worldly person wants to taste different kinds of food. He's not happy with one dish. He wants this dish, that. So he says in the spiritual field, Sri Ramakrishna was a spiritual glutton. He loved to practice all forms of religious as different sects practiced, different religions practiced. Said, how does a Christian realize the Father in heaven or the God whom he worships? How does a Muslim realize? So he said, one vision, one way of one method of worship was not enough. So Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi says he wanted to taste God, just like a glutton wants to taste food, different varieties. He's not happy with one dish. So also he did not want a limited vision, a particular vision of God, which he already had. So he approached different gurus. He wanted to see how the Shaktas, people who worship God as the Divine Mother, how do they worship? So he got the moment that desire came to him, Shardanji says, the Guru appeared before him and he practiced that sadhana. Very quickly attained. The Gurus were surprised. Even his last sadhana which he did was the Advait sadhana, which Totapuri, a great monastic guru who was for 40 years of sadhana, after that he had realization. But he saw that this person, this disciple is a fit disciple. So he initiates him into the sadhana of Advaita Vedanta, and to his surprise, he finds what took 40 years for him to realize. Since a child, he was doing sadhana. Very, very intense sadhana. Totapuri sadhana, if you see, the monastery rules were so strict that the sampradaya, the mutt where he lived, had strict rules. They could not stay under a roof. They had to stay under the tree. And whether it is rain or heat or cold winter, they had to just travel, not stay more than three places, just wandering from one place to another. Such difficult sadhana to attain the reality of Advaita Vedanta, which requires a person to give up the idea that one is the body. Advaita is a path where you have to deny the existence of the body. How to do it? So difficult. So Tatapuri and the sadhana that was prescribed for him, which he did for 40 years, is to deny. If the Prakriti says, if the nature says there is heat, he has to deny heat. He has to deny cold. He has to deny shelter. He has to deny rain. And so the body becomes so tough. And this training, the monastery, if you read the life of Totapuri, how difficult sadhana he had to perform. And he was surprised. It took 40 years for me intensely meditating on the idea that is neti neti, not this, not the body, not the prana, not the mind. How difficult it is. Again and again, the idea that one is the body comes. Again, you have to deny it. So after a very, very long struggle, he got the realization of the formless aspect of God, that is Brahman. And he saw in 3 days, just 3 days, he initiated, uh, Totapuri initiated Sri Ramakrishna, seeing him a wonderful disciple. And he was shocked. He said, what took 40 years? How is Ramakrishna doing it in 3 days? And he went into Samadhi. He was wondering how to bring him down from that plane. He was just like inert, like he went into the Samadhi, highest Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And he had to chant and then bring his mind down. He was shouting just to get some kind of body consciousness back so that he becomes to normalcy. So this extreme steadfastness, which got him his first realization, also got him all the other realizations which he did one after another. Such a very short period of time. You see, his first sadhana, if you see, he comes to Dakshineshwar to help his brother. In fact, his brother wanted him to study and become a priest and earn some money. So he was trying to pressurize him to study in the school and learn something at least so that he can earn a living. And he refused. But by Divine Mother's grace, his brother, when he passed away, Mathurnath Bishwas said, can you continue the puja? Because there was no other priest. So he said, I can do puja, but I can't take care of the jewels. You have created just a big paraphernalia here. The Divine Mother has so many golden ornaments. I'm afraid to take care. My mind will not be able to do that. If you ask Hriday or somebody else to look after the jewels, I can just do puja. He was such a free mind that he did not want any bondage. He said, I am not going to take the responsibility of these jewels, and which mean nothing to the Divine Mother. They may mean a lot to you, but if you promise me that somebody else will be responsible for all the jewelry, I will do puja. And he agreed. So that steadfastness, day after day in, day out, sticking to his sadhana, and whatever came to his mind, whichever sadhana, with extreme steadfastness and firm resolution along with that. Then indomitable courage. He was not afraid. You see, indomitable courage. Swami Shardanji will discuss these examples. He's trying to show that these qualities should also be practiced by us if we wish to mold our life according to the life and teachings. It's not just the divine aspect, the spiritual aspect, it's the human aspect, the moral aspect, the yamas and niyamas of life, which the avatara shows, the incarnation shows. This is how you should approach. This is how you should develop your power of judgment. This is how you should judge others. And uh, as Jesus said, do not judge others so that ye be not judged. Means you will be judged by the same measure as you judge others. You can't criticize others and uh, think that the world should not criticize you. If you criticize, you will be criticized. If you judge others, so don't judge. But here we are talking of a different power of judgment. Judging, power of judgment for oneself. How, to judge what one should do. It's known as the power of discrimination or viveka. Then indomitable courage, but most important, which we see a characteristic, if you read the gospel, it is his joyful sense of humor. So he used to say that you don't have to have a very sad face or a morose face if you are practicing spirituality, because you are the children of bliss. If you are the children of bliss, if you really believe that the God within or the Lord within, the Antaryami, is full of bliss, then how can you be sad? So there is that famous song, Mago Anandamayi Nirananda Corona. Means they call you Anandamayi, one with the full essence of great spiritual bliss and joy. So why are you making your son Nirananda? Nirananda means the opposite of joy, sorrow. How can a son become sorrowful if the mother is full of joy? Your name is Anandamayi, means one who is always joyful. And how can I? So, this joyful sense of humor, which he always had, no matter how much he was suffering with the pain of cancer, even in those moments, Swami Turiyananji says that he saw that in spite of all the pain, that joy never left him, that smile. Anybody coming at any time, even the last moment, some people wanted some advice. So he says, just like Buddha, who said, don't stop anyone. Though he was on a deathbed, he would joyfully answer all the questions of sincere sadhakas, aspirants. So here also you will find joyful sense of humor. These are the six basic qualities and then he will himself give examples to show how these qualities were there right from childhood. Then immense love and compassion. He was so liberal. Swami Vivekananda once said that this love and compassion made him so liberal that he could not criticize others. So he said, I am not a fit person, Vivekananda said. I, I, I had I have criticized a lot of people. But my master was so liberal that he could never criticize anyone. He was always positive. Because he knew, after all, the laws of Prakriti, the laws of Prakriti are such that the various permutations and combinations of the gunas make one dance to the tune of Prakriti. Some tamasic people are forced to be, uh, they are forced to be evil or weak, and they will have so many faults. So it's the Prakriti which is causing all this. So the only solution is to lift them from the clutches of Prakriti, which he called the Divine Mother. What is Divine Mother? Ma Kali is nothing but Prakriti, Prakriti of Sankhya. In yoga, they say yoga really means disconnecting the Prakriti, Prakriti which binds us physically, mentally, with all sorts of suffering, and disconnect and connect yourself with the Purusha. Purusha means the Lord within, the Antaryami, the pure spirit, the pure consciousness of Brahman, which we really are, but Prakriti makes us feel that we are bound. So makes us feel, but the same Prakriti, according to Sri Ramakrishna, though she has a one power with which she binds us, but she has another power that is known as Vidya Maya. Avidya Maya binds us. The same Prakriti has another positive aspect which releases us, which helps us to go towards Purusha. And disconnect, this disconnection or this uh, disconnection that happens in yoga, it is known as samadhi. When you are not under the clutches of Prakriti. How do we do it? By controlling the mind. Yoga is as simple as that. When you say, what is the method of yoga? Chitta vritti nirodha. So it's the mind that is the connection between the body, between Prakriti and Purusha. Purusha by itself is detached. It is pure consciousness. But unfortunately, the jiva identifies himself with the Prakriti and is entangled. So yoga says it is the mind which is the connecting link. It is the mind which is the window to the world. How do we feel sorrow, joy, uh, trials and tribulations, suffering? Everything is because of our mind. Bhagavan Buddha also said, "You are as you think. As you think, so you become." So our thoughts are our windows to the world. So every scripture in the world, including Patanjali's yoga, says the mischief is in the mind. This is the mind that connects you to the gross Prakriti and makes you suffer. So the bondage of is also of the mind and freedom is also of the mind. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. This is a famous Upanishadic statement where he says, mind itself is the cause of bondage and mind itself will take you to freedom. So it's not that we have to develop or we have to take the help of the same mind. At a lower level, it is reactive. At a higher level, it is buddhi. Buddhi takes you towards uh, the Atman. So that is why this extraordinary power of judgment, which is known as Viveka in Advaita Vedanta, they call it Viveka. In Vivek Chudamani, you will find how much importance is given to make the right choice. Discrimination or discernation. To discern what is good, what is really good to you, and what is not good, what will make you more bound and what will make you free. So, these six qualities, I'll repeat what these six qualities are. Based on that, Shardananji will give us wonderful examples. First is his powerful memory, one. Strong power of judgment, viveka. Extreme steadfastness and firm resolution. Sticking to one particular sadhana, not just jumping from one thing to another. Indomitable courage. Joyful sense of humor, because we are the children of immortal bliss. Immense love and compassion, because compassion is a quality which makes you more and more the selflessness. So he says the throughout his life, now Shardanji analyzes, extraordinary faith, purity, and selflessness were constant throughout his life. It is These were components of his mind and actions, and the reactions of the world created in waves in that mind in the form of smriti, memory, intelligence, resolution, courage, humor, love, and compassion. So he says the reader now, he is giving example, is not just saying he had these qualities, he wants to show some examples, one or two examples. These are really worth understanding how from childhood itself, and of course, during his youthful days when he did sadhana, most of his sadhana which he did. But All through, he had this wonderful memory. Whatever he could hear once, he would remember. It is known as Shruti Dhara. Means a Shruti Dhara is one who can retain what one doesn't have to read again and again or hear again and again. In fact, the word that is used for a person with exceptional memory is Shruti Dhara. Shruti means that which is heard. So you see, Sri Ramakrishna used the best method of knowledge, her hearing. Even in Vedanta, they will never say reading. They will say Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Hear from the Guru, hear from the teacher, hear from anyone. Shravana. You have to hear. So hearing is so important and a very powerful source of memory. One can read. I was wondering why our scriptures again and again say that hearing is the uh, best form of remembering spiritual truths, especially spiritual truths. I'm not talking of mathematics and all. You have to have so many uh, so many texts, books, written material in all secular subjects. But when it comes to spirituality, you will be surprised to know most of our gurukulams or gurukulas, they said no books are allowed. Even if you go to Kerala now, there are some monasteries which prohibit books. If you want to study grammar, if you want to study scriptures, just come empty-handed. First, they will make you memorize everything. Oh, you want to learn Patanjali's Yoga Sutras or the Vyakarana, the grammar, memorize 4,000 verses. After they have committed everything to memory, then they will try to explain. Because what is not in your memory is not going to be any use. It may be in the book. We might write hundreds of notes, but they will be in the book. They will be not in the mind. It is because we can't keep things in the mind, we write and we make notes. Because that is our habit. Our whole university and primary school and university education is based on writing rather than hearing. So I was wondering why Shravana. Shravana literally means hearing. The Vedas could have said reading. They could have said reading. Why can't there were books in those days, even on palm script, manuscripts were there. Why did they not encourage? Because they found hearing is a more effective means of communication and also remembering. Because a child, if you see the neurological development of a child when it grows, even from the third month in the mother's womb, the sense organ of ear is fully developed. Eyes develop after childbirth. After the child is born, he takes at least 1 or 2 years to see the world properly, proper color. So his learning, visual learning comes much later. So some of our scriptures knew that even when the child is in the mother's womb, the sound it is able to hear. This is based on a study by Mary Lee Sprenger, who wrote a book, Learning and Memory. It's one of the pioneering books in done at Harvard School, medical school, where she studied children, studied the before the child was born. She exposed these women to different kinds of auditory material, like music, like different. And if she found that the children developed exceptional memory was dependent to a large extent also on the type of material which the mother heard. So the child consciously or unconsciously remembers things if it is told, and especially in a young age, up to the age of 5 or 6, they say a child can learn. This is the result of the research which she has done. She was a neurosurgeon, neurophysician, so and also educationist. So she wanted to know how the brain remembers things. Why some people have good memory, some people have a bad smriti. So you see, Sri Ramakrishna had a fantastic memory. Because his mother, if you see the background, she used to hear so many things. Even Swami Vivekananda says his mother used to listen to the Mahabharata even before he was born, and that was a regular routine. So they imbibe the characteristics, the good memory of their parents, both Chandramani Devi, that is Sri Ramakrishna's mother, and Swami Vivekananda's mother. They had exceptional memory. Both of them never went to school. In those days, girls hardly went to school. But they, whatever they heard, the bowls, the different people who used to come in the village and sing wonderful songs, highly philosophical songs, and Ramayana, Mahabharata, so many plays where it was a very powerful medium of education. So everything that they heard, they could remember. They did not have to read books. That is why when Master Mahashaya was educated in the Western way of education, first he went and asked, how many books does this man read? He did not know who Ramakrishna was. He thought one who reads books, the more he reads, the more intelligent and spiritual he is. So he said, does this man read books? He said, no, no, that lady was illiterate. She herself said, no, no, she doesn't have to read books. Everything is in his mind. She, of course, mentioned that because she saw he never had any book in his, though the books were there, he never read anything. Everything came spontaneously. And when he was asked, he said, how much have I heard? And everything he heard, he remembered. All the gurus who came to him, all the gurus, Vaishnava scriptures, he could just quote. If you see the gospel, he's so accurate and so perfect. That shows a wonderful, fantastic memory he had. But here we give there's a beautiful example. And through that, Swami Shardananji wants to convey that strong memory was his childhood characteristic. He says in a village there was a dramatic performance. These dramas used to be regularly held. Dramas based on scriptural texts, Puranas, and stories which taught some philosophy, not just entertainment. So in the village there was a dramatic performance based on the life of Rama, Ramayana, or maybe, and there was one on Krishna also. So the boy Gadadhar attended it. He was very young, and with other villagers, and all the next day the villagers, as usual, they just listen, enjoy it as they enjoy any other entertainment, and then go home, and then they start doing their duty. They all forgot all the sacred stories. Most of them forgot, even the adults. But in Gadadhar's mind, because he heard it, he could never forget it. He was constantly repeating when he was doing other work. The holy words flowed uninterruptedly. He repeated the whole play. Can you imagine? This is a recorded thing. The whole play, he said, those who did not attend, he could reproduce the whole play, what was held, and he enacted it for his friends. And they used to enjoy because he used to just imitate exactly the characters of the drama, and he would reenact that drama. And there was a famous mango grove where they used to go outside the village. It was a favorite place of Sri Ramakrishna because he knew here the elders will come and scold them for not going to school. So they would normally escape from school, and some friends, he would enact these dramas in a mango grove. So he helped them, all the children, to learn all the dialogues by heart so that they could reproduce the play. And within a few days, the different characters he played, each one he taught how to play the different characters, and he played the lead role. And after that, in the front of the villagers, what they had seen a few days ago, they had all forgotten. They enacted, and then they wondered how these children picked up so well. They did exactly reproduce all the dialogues. This is one example that how Sri Ramakrishna could not only remember all the dialogues, and he would remember the expressions of the actors and reproduce it in future. Second is, there is another example which is given, which I mentioned this. I'm just repeating. During every child in India, whether it was boy and girl, unfortunately, in when Sri Ramakrishna was young, it was restricted to boys. Our uh, holy tradition was becoming more and more orthodox. So Orthodox Brahmins thought only boys should get, uh, they are known as twice born. When they are given this Yagnopavita, normally it is done between the age of 6 and 8, where the Gayatri mantra is given. It is given because you expect the child from that day onwards, along with his secular education, he should develop buddhi. So, dhyo yona prachodhi means buddhi. So, O sun, that is the sun represents Brahman, the light of the light of the world. Please enlighten my buddhi. So, that is a prayer the child is expected to recite. Mind you, if you go back in history, it was given both to boys and girls. But unfortunately, it was only for boys, and only Brahmins and some higher castes. Others were deprived of this wonderful prayer, the Gayatri mantra. So there is a rule, ceremonies become more important, that you have to perform this ritual. And naturally, according to the custom, which was again dictated by the priests, nobody gave them the authority to say that the bhiksha, that the food they have to beg. They have to beg food after the ceremony. They should not eat at home. They should go and beg. So they said you should beg from any Brahmin family, high caste family. That was the orthodox tradition. And they expected Sri Ramakrishna to follow that tradition. They said if you don't do it, the whole society will reject you. Then there was Dhani, a woman of blacksmith caste, which is supposed, in those days, it was supposed to be a lower caste. And uh, and moreover, she was a widow. So naturally, nobody will, no Orthodox Brahmin, even Sri Ramakrishna's elder brother, they would like the idea of Gadadhar going to a low caste woman and accept alms. So Dhani loved Sri Ramakrishna so much, she recognized this child is divine, he is not an ordinary child. So she used to secretly, because she cannot do it in the open, she used to take him to her home and feed him some nice sweets, whatever she had made out of love and affection. So she said, you have to do, she told Gadadhar, see, soon you will be given this sacred vows of Gayatri. You will be asked to take bhiksha. Can you promise me one thing? You have to take the first bhiksha not from any other Brahmin but from me. That is my only request. And seeing her wonderful affection, love, he agreed to that. And he said, yes, I'll definitely take from you. Because he had promised, when the real time came, when the ceremony was over, and he said, no, no, you can't go. He said, no, I will go. So see the strong determination of the boy. He said, how can you justify my taking the sacred thread if I tell a lie? I have promised somebody something. If I tell a truth, I don't deserve the right to be called a Brahmin. So just by saying I'm born in a Brahmin family, it doesn't make me a Brahmin. So I have to honor her wish and honor my promise to her. So goes to that poor woman and takes the first bhiksha. She is so happy because this has never happened in history. So see the determination. So that is the second example he gives. So there is another example. These are all when he was hardly less than just between 6 to 8 years old. These qualities remained with him throughout his life, but these qualities which we are speaking of were because we are discussing the childhood of Sri Ramakrishna. So the courage that he exhibited, there is one example he gives. Mostly when children don't listen to their parents, they are frightened. That's a very wrong psychological trick. We tell them don't go outside. There are ghosts, some police or some robber will come, and so people are always frightened. They are brainwashed by their parents just to control them and told all sorts of lies, ghost stories, and don't go out in the dark. And poor children, they accept. Otherwise, they are not afraid. Fear is something which we people introduce to these children. By nature, everybody is born pure, fearless, perfect. But Sri Ramakrishna would never accept anything. See, that is his wonderful courage which came out of a wonderful sense of judgment. So children in both towns, all the towns, villages were frightened when they saw these Naga monks. And mothers, instead of ghost, they used to say the Naga monks who used to come, they were very ferocious. They were a militant type of monks, but they were good people. But for self protection, especially they were introduced by Madhusudan Saraswati, because the lot of during the Mughal rule, a lot of religious people were persecuted and killed. So the Nagas, he said, he told the sadhus, the monks of the Naga order, he created that to protect the other monks. He said, you have to be militant. Otherwise, anybody, any officer or any soldier will come and kill you in the name of religion. So you, Hinduism, I mean, the Hindu monks have to defend other monks. So he gave this responsibility. So Naga monks, they were, even today, if you see them in India, though they were very powerful in those days, they were very ferocious, they had weapons with them, and nobody could even dare to come near them. And they used to have, it was rumored in Bengal that there is another rumor there was in the villages that they would forcibly take children and recruit them to become Naga monks, which was maybe in few cases it happened, but it was just a rumor. But this kidnapping theory and the ferocious nature, whenever children saw that these monks coming, they would run away. And the parents knew that the children are afraid. So he said, don't go outside, don't do this, don't do that. So instead of uh, uh, frightening them with the idea of ghosts, they said the Naga monks will come. They will come and take you away. So all the children believed, very innocent children, they would believe this. And then many Naga monks and Vaishnava mendicants used to use that road which passed through Kamarpukur to go to Puri. So many of the children believed and nobody would go to serve them. And as a result, they did not have food. They stayed in Kamarpukur. Some huts were built where they could take some rest. And obviously, they expected a little food. And they would give knowledge, not that they would just take food. In return, they would tell wonderful stories, spiritual stories, transmit spirituality. So, but Gadadhar was the only exception in the village. He was not at all afraid, no matter how much he was pressurized. He used to go, he spent a great deal of time in order to observe their conduct. He was curious. What makes these people renounce the world and go like this? And he saw there is a strange kind of joy these people had, though did not have proper clothes. And whatever food, they had no demands. Whatever food the villagers he used to take, he used to feel great delight. When all other children were discouraged, only elder people used to go and give them food. But Gadadhar used to force his mother and others to give him so that he can go and serve them. And he was not at all afraid. So one day he was so impressed. See, that is how children learn. They learn by imitation. So one day he told the Naga monks, I want to dress like you. So he got some matted hair and he wore the dress of a monk. And he went, and his mother was shocked. She thought, what kind of thing has happened? But the idea here is that even as a child, nobody could frighten him and put fear in his mind. So that's absolute fearlessness. So, like that, there were so many other things which he used to do. There is a wonderful sense of humor which he had. So he was very, very particular and observed. That is why Swami Vivekananda once said, Sri Ramakrishna did not go to university or college or school like us. But I envy him because our education was second-hand education. We learned what others had written. We learned the books written by other people. So our is second-hand knowledge, not our own knowledge by observation, by experimentation. We did not learn. Whereas my master, he said, was more wiser than all of us because his university was the university of nature. So he learned all his lessons from nature, from people. So he saw he was such a wonderful observer. And many of the examples he later gave to the other devotees, how people mimicking them, exactly doing the mimicry, how people cheat other people. So he was a very good actor. So he would listen to these people, and sometimes he used to always treat these great travelers and monks who used to come and stay and observe very, very keenly. So, how he saw how people welcomed these sannyasins who gave a sermon, and he would remember every word. And then sometimes he saw that these people who are supposed to be humble, when you become spiritual, you have to become humble. But very often, the power of knowledge or the ego of knowledge makes them demand certain things. That is also a negative side of knowledge and also spirituality. This idea that ego comes in various ways. So some of the monks there, they used to demand, think I am a sannyasin, you should respect me. They used to demand respect, demand food, demand this. They were misusing the spiritual. Actually, spiritual knowledge should make you humble. So Gadadhar used to see there were good monks, very simple monks, humble monks who gave knowledge, but there were others who, though they were had the appearance of a sannyasin, 5 minutes. No. Okay, who had who they dressed like sannyasins, behaved like sannyasins, had the knowledge also, but they were puffed up with the ego of knowledge and used to make funny demands or ask, dictate, and show their pride. So Gadadhar saw all these things. He could see through the behavior of this. He also saw the good people, but he used to make fun by imitating. And then he used to come home and tell all his parents and others, relatives and other friends. And then he said, see, today one monk came and he used to just act, and he used to occupy a high platform and then show how that teacher or that preacher used to exhibit his knowledge and so full of ego, and the mimicking was so real that everybody would laugh. That was his characteristic. So he used to, even when he grew up, many times his observation was so sharp that he used to act how a miser acts, how he hides things when other people come. He doesn't want to share some. So all these things, the expressions, everything used to act and show, and the disciples used to be amused. So it was just out of fun. He didn't mean to criticize anyone. He just wanted to show that how different people have different natures, how peculiar natures, people with peculiar natures behaved in different ways. So he was very good at mimicry. And then this is the last one. We have 5 minutes. Okay. So we'll just conclude this. Why do we have to study these stories? This is a very important question. Why are we at all learning the life? Is it not enough if we just read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna? His message is there. No, it's not enough, because you have to, if you want, as Swami Vivekananda says, if you want to know what Karma Yoga is, it's not enough to read the Karma Yoga as Bhagavan Sri Krishna explains. But you see, his whole life was Karma Yoga. Whatever Sri Krishna did was exactly enacting or exactly following his own message. And he lived that life to show the people that this is not just Karma Yoga that I'm teaching Arjuna. I'm showing that I'm doing that Karma Yoga, that Sthita Prajna Lakshana, all the 18 chapters of the Gita were lived by him. And for that, you need to learn his life. His life, of course, Sri Krishna's life is not in one particular biography. There are so many sources. The Bhagavata is there. So you have to read many books to understand the life of Krishna. And Swamiji says, without reading the life of Krishna, you can't understand his wonderful message. Because these avatars, what they preach, they live first and then they preach. So this natural characteristics, though he exhibited them, he says, by studying the stories of the master's life, Sri Ramakrishna's life, what do we gain? We understand the kind of mind one has to have when we practice spiritual disciplines. He accomplished whatever he wanted, whatever he set out to do. He never forgot what he heard. He shunned forcefully and immediately anything that prevented him from reaching the goal. He was not lukewarm. Okay, I'll try this, I'll try. No. If he decides, he will follow it. There was so much of conviction, and the whole world could not, his father, his brother, elder brother, everybody would try their best, but he would not change his mind because once he was convinced, he would forcefully give it up, and not nobody would prevent him from changing his mind. Then we see, Sardanji says, he performed all his actions. This is Karma Yoga by placing his firm faith in God, in himself, his own self. Swami Vivekananda said, a one person who does not have faith in himself cannot have faith in God. If you say that you have faith in God, and if that faith is real, then you will be certain of your own decisions. You should have faith in yourself that what I'm doing is right. Because Swami Vivekananda used to say, because he was talking of Islam and the greatness of, there's greatness in every religion. So he saw an old Mohammedan woman in Kashmir. I was discussing this today. They have a very peculiar ritual which shows how much they believe in the power and the faith of Allah, whom they consider to be the greatest. There's nobody greater than him. But that it doesn't mean that all who believe in Allah have that same faith. But he saw a old woman, old enough to become a grandmother. Maybe her daughter had given birth to a small child. So Swami Vivekananda was passing the snow-capped Himalayas, which was very cold near Srinagar. And from that very small hut, suddenly a woman comes out, very strong but old woman, holding the child upside down, the newly born child. He has just been born. And she comes and shouts loudly. That was a ritual, but she meant what she said. She says, holding the child, exposing him to so much cold, she says, if Allah made you, you live. And if God did not make you or Allah did not make you, then you die. So much faith in the will of God, that whatever happens, happens by the will of God. We say that, but we want things to happen to us what we want. We don't undergo or we don't accept what God wishes. If you have real faith, you should have faith in yourself, that my faith in my God, whoever he is, whichever God I believe in, should imbibe in me that tremendous faith that by the will of Allah or by the will of God whom I believe, I can do anything and everything. So that is why he says he performed all actions with full faith in the power of Divine Mother. For anything, he would go to the Divine Mother and he would get an answer because he had 100% faith. And also, to add, Swami Shardananji add, in the innate divine nature of all people. So that is why he would not condemn. He said temporarily this person may not be making mistakes, but ultimately he is part of the divine. So he could see that, and that is why he could not criticize others. So he could not accept any idea, narrow idea. That is why Sri Ramakrishna said, I can't accept any exclusive idea. Things should be universal. He could not bear any low, impure thoughts. Even if it is slightly impure, he would simply not tolerate it. So purity, love and compassion always guided him. So what it teaches us, what Sardanji says, what it teaches is that for an aspirant to succeed in his spiritual life, he should not be deceived by his own thoughts, nor should he be deceived by others' thoughts. That firm faith and conviction, which was a characteristic of Gadadhar, he neither listened to his society or the parents if it was wrong. If it was wrong, he would not accept it. Whoever maybe the authority was telling him. What he knew to be right, he did. And his own thoughts, when his thoughts told him you have to do. A small example I can give and then we'll conclude. Master Mashai, who recorded the gospel, it is a very simple incident, but he observed it. He says, whenever this is known as, there is a word in Sanskrit known as sankalpa. Sankalpa means when a thought comes, we normally don't convert it into action. We are lazy. If suppose a thought comes, you get up and do something, then we'll be lazy. Okay, we'll do it later. But Sri Ramakrishna's mind was always, when he took a sankalpa, he had to do it immediately. He will not wait. So Master Mashe says, one day he said, by mistake, I mean mistake or maybe intentionally, he was saying when there was a big crowd sitting there, he just said, oh, now it is time for me to go and have the darshan or the I have to go to the temple for mother's darshan. And even though conversation was going on, people were waiting there. He was surprised. M was surprised. He just got up because he has said it. He has to do it. So he goes and then he would reach the temple, do darshan, then do whatever else. Because once the sankalpa has come, it has to be done. So he was so firm-minded. Then he said, M remarks, on the way, if somebody stopped him, he would not, it's very rudely ignore him and just go straight. Because his sankalpa did not permit him to stop on the way and gossip and then go to somebody else comes and stops. So that sankalpa shakti, he could not be deceived by his own thoughts nor by others. Nobody could force him to change. So keeping these 6 characteristics of the master's mind, see, Swami Shardananji, even before explaining what sadhana, what spiritual practices Sri Ramakrishna did, and he says this sadhaka bhava is very, very important because how these great people do sadhana. In fact, he says, we unfortunately, the followers of the great religious leaders, they try to not discuss too much about the sadhana life. He says, for example, Jesus, we know he had a divine childhood, everybody knows. He had a divine, uh, transformed so many disciples, the guru portion we know. But there is a small period where his biography doesn't show the struggle he underwent, the tapasya that he did, the intense prayers that he did on the top of the mountain. That is not discussed so much. So also with Krishna, so also with Rama, so also with all the incarnations, even Buddha. Of course, we have some idea of how Buddha struggled in the forest, how much sadhana he did. Because they think our uh, prophet is divine. So by discussing the human aspect, we are belittling him. But Swami Shraddhanji says, no, we are entirely wrong. We have to discuss the sadhana part so that we can get inspiration that we are humans. So our avatara also came as a human. If he could do it, we can also do it. So to understand the Sri Ramakrishna as a sadhaka, as a spiritual aspirant, you have to understand his human characteristics. So we will conclude now. If there are some questions, you can.
Questions, Sharon.
Sharon.
Pranam Maharaj. Is much decreased excellent memory of average Jiva nowadays attributed to deception of attention with speed and imperative of e-communications?
Yes, yes, yes. You're right. The question is, somebody has asked the question online. Sharon has asked that is this lack of memory or lack of concentration or whatever it is, lack of the wonderful characteristic Sri Ramakrishna had. Why don't we? Is it because of the social media and the distractions caused? Obviously, that is one reason. But you should remember that distractions were there in that age also. They might not have had a social media, but they had other media. There were so many distractions. People, you see the Ramayana and Mahabharata. Mahabharata, so much of distraction, the desire to earn money, desire to cheat others. They are also distractions. Here it is virtual. You see something on the internet that distracts you, that adds to the distraction you already have. But that doesn't mean that the older people, people of those days, they were not distracted. Distraction was there. It was difficult to control the mind even in those days. Of course, now the children are exposed too early. That may be one reason why the attention deficiency is there in the, it's observed. They call it what, ADHD. ADHD is a disease, attention deficient or deficiency hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, isn't it? So that ADHD is seen more among children. The attention span is decreasing. So earlier, 1 hour class was normal when we studied. Even when we studied, it was usual to have 1 hour class, but now they have reduced it to 20 minutes or sometimes 25 minutes. They said that beyond that, the child will get restless. He will not be able to focus because his attention span has decreased. So naturally, this is the result, obviously. But media is always there. There is a positive side to the media. If you can hear talks on Bhagavad Gita, you can hear talks on meditation. It can be used in a positive way, or it can be used in a negative way. So you can't blame the media. Society does not change much. Techniques change. People remain the same. Their mind remains the same. Problems remain the same. Suffering remains the same. Maybe now it is more mental suffering than physical because of advanced medical facilities. But the sum total of suffering, as Swamiji says in his Karma Yoga, it has not changed. The 1,000 years ago, men suffered in a different way. Now he is suffering in a different way. So that's okay. Any question? So we'll conclude. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Where end the meeting?
Hmm?
Where end the meeting?